The ballroom was warm with candlelight, echoing laughter and the gentle clinking of glasses. White orchids trailed down the center of each table. A jazz trio played something soft and classic. It was the kind of night I had once dreamed of. My son's college graduation dinner, surrounded by friends and family. I wore navy silk and a smile I had practiced. I had spent weeks organizing this. The seating plan, the playlist, even the menu, down to the lemon tart for dessert, Leo's favorite. My husband, Daniel, stood at the head of the room, champagne flute in hand. He was meant to give a toast to our son, our journey as a family. I expected a few jokes, maybe something about the nights we stayed up helping with science projects. I expected love. Instead, Daniel cleared his throat and the room hushed. I need to say something tonight. I've decided to start a new chapter of my life without Claire. There was a beat of absolute silence, then a gasp, a dropped fork. Somewhere, a whisper. Did he just... I didn't flinch. Not a muscle moved. I sat still as stone, my eyes locked on his. He had just left me, publicly, on our son's graduation night, after 27 years of marriage, and I smiled. Thank you for your honesty, I said softly, lifting my glass. It'll make what comes next much easier. People say the world changes in a moment. That night, I didn't change. I revealed what I had already become. My name is Claire Whitmore. I'm 55 years old. I was a wife for almost 3 decades, a mother to an extraordinary young man, and for the last year, I had been planning my husband's undoing. Daniel never noticed when I started watching him differently. He didn't know that I had once been one of the best financial fraud analysts on the East Coast. He liked to tell people I had retired to raise our son. But in truth, I had paused my career out of love and never returned, out of necessity. Daniel's startup years were erratic. I became the family's stability. I tracked our spending for years. So when small transfers started disappearing from our joint account, $1,200 here, $3,000 there, I noticed. When business dinners showed up at 5-star hotels in cities Daniel hadn't traveled to, I noticed. And I documented. While Daniel was out finding himself, I was finding the truth. Hotel receipts, jewelry purchases, a second phone line. And finally, emails. One left open by mistake. Laura, 32nd, an executive assistant at one of his partner firms. The tone of the messages made it clear this wasn't new. They had been planning something for months. He wasn't just having an affair. He was trying to quietly erase me from the life I helped him build. That was the moment I stopped being quiet. That night, after Daniel made his little declaration to a room full of people I had cooked for, laughed with, and trusted for years, I didn't cry. Instead, I reached into my handbag and pulled out a thick cream-colored envelope. It had been there for weeks, sealed, prepared, timed to perfection. I stood, walked calmly to the head table, and placed it beside Daniel's plate. He looked at it like it was radioactive. "What's this?" he asked, his voice already trembling. "Something for you to read later," I said, steady and cool. "You might want to do it privately." Then I turned to our son, Leo. His expression was frozen, caught between shock and devastation. I leaned in, kissed his cheek. "I'm proud of you, sweetheart, no matter what." I walked out to a silence that echoed louder than applause. 50 stunned faces followed my every step. But none of them mattered. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anyone else's shame. I returned to our house that evening, our beautiful brownstone near the park, the one we had poured everything into, and found it still and untouched. His suit jacket was still draped over the stair rail. A wine glass sat on the kitchen island, half full. Our life paused mid-scene. I went upstairs to our bedroom. The suitcase he had been hiding in the back of the closet was already packed. So neat, so arrogant. He really thought he'd get the last word. My phone buzzed. Leo, Mom, are you okay? What the hell was that? I stared at the message. My heart clenched, not from grief, but guilt. I had shielded him for months. I had played normal so he could finish his finals in peace. Now, on the night meant to celebrate him, the truth had exploded. I'm okay, sweetheart. We'll talk tonight. Don't let this take away your moment. Minutes later, another message. From Daniel. What the fuck did you do? I didn't respond. He had made his move. Now it was my turn. 3 hours after the dinner, I heard the front door slam. Claire, Daniel's voice thundered through the house. I was in the living room, calmly reviewing court filings on my laptop. I closed it and waited. He came storming in, still wearing the same suit, though now disheveled. The envelope was crumpled in his hand. You served me divorce papers tonight. At our son's graduation? I thought it matched your timing nicely, I replied evenly. You announced your departure. I simply confirmed it. He blinked. He was used to me being the composed wife, the one who kept peace, made excuses, mended the cracks he left behind. But tonight, the cracks were his own. You had no right. I had every right, I cut him off. Just as you had the right to start a new life with your assistant behind my back. We all make choices, Daniel. You just forgot that choices come with consequences. He scoffed, stepping closer. The prenup is irrelevant. It's been nearly 30 years. I stood, walked to the side table, and pulled out the original signed copy. Section 14, I said. The fidelity clause remains in effect for the duration of the marriage, not just the early years. You should have read the fine print before you started playing house with Laura. His face paled. He hadn't read it. Of course he hadn't. You can't prove anything, he muttered. I pulled out my phone, tapped on the audio app, and played it. After the graduation, I'll tell her it's over. In a public setting, she won't cause a scene. Then Laura's voice. And she has no clue about the money? Daniel again, laughing. None. Claire still trusts me. That's her weakness. He stared at the phone like it might catch fire. When the recording ended, the room was deathly quiet. You recorded us? Not us, I said. Just you, planning to defraud your wife, in your own home. One-party consent, Daniel. Perfectly legal in New York. He ran a hand through his hair, then paced. I need to make a call. I'd recommend a lawyer, I said. Your new life might be delayed. The morning after I left, I met with my attorney, Andrea Feldman, a no-nonsense woman in her early 40s with a razor-sharp mind and a reputation for dismantling men like Daniel in court. Let's freeze everything, I told her. Joint accounts, investments, access to our home equity line. I want it all locked down, she smiled. Already in motion, we'll file for an emergency injunction this afternoon. By the end of the day, Daniel's world was shrinking. The credit card stopped working. The vacation property in the Hamptons was put on hold. His sleek black Tesla, repossessed within 48 hours. He called me 10 times. I didn't answer. On the third day, Laura showed up at Evelyn's doorstep. I hadn't expected her to have the nerve. She wore oversized sunglasses and an expression that flickered between embarrassment and panic. I'm sorry to come here. He said you froze the accounts. That the lease on the condo didn't go through. He told me we were starting a life together. I didn't say a word. I just opened the door wider and let her in. She looked around the cozy kitchen, Evelyn sipping tea at the table like nothing surprised her anymore. He lied to me, Laura whispered. I thought you deserved to know. He told me the prenup was invalid, that your marriage was basically over. I met her eyes. Laura, I'm not your enemy, but you helped dismantle a life I spent nearly 30 years building. I don't owe you sympathy, just truth. She left in tears. I didn't watch her go. The calls from friends started slowly, then came in waves. Claire, we had no idea. We thought it was just business stress. I'm so sorry, some meant it. Others just wanted gossip. I gave them all the same polite phrase. Daniel and I are separating. These things happen, but not like this. Not when betrayal is calculated. Not when the woman who made the toast is also the one holding the sword. A month later, I reopened my license and launched Whitmore Financial Transitions, a boutique firm specializing in helping women navigate divorce, widowhood, and financial upheaval. Within weeks, I had my first clients, 2 women in messy separations who'd heard whispers of my story. I don't just know the numbers, I told them. I know the fight. The work was healing. I wasn't rebuilding from ashes. I was building higher, stronger, clearer. Court was sterile and cold. Daniel came in with a high-priced lawyer who looked like she hadn't read the case file. I had Andrea, who brought binders. The judge was brisk and thorough. The prenuptial agreement stands, she said after an hour. The clause regarding fidelity is binding. Daniel shifted in his seat. He looked smaller than I remembered. The judge continued. The court sees no grounds to challenge the financial freeze. Mrs. Whitmore retains control of the family home and primary assets until final division. He didn't look at me as he left. Weeks passed. The silence became a comfort. My business grew. I gave talks at local women's groups. Evelyn helped with admin. Leo called every day from grad school. "I'm proud of you," he said one night. "You're not just surviving, Mom. You're winning." Cassandra was gone. Apparently, she had found out Daniel had exaggerated everything. His savings, his business, even his name on the beach house deed. She left him a note, Evelyn said one morning, scrolling her phone. No drama, just a post-it that said, "I'm not your bailout." I laughed for a full minute. Daniel was living in a 2-bedroom apartment downtown, selling off crypto to stay afloat. Poetic. We met one last time, at the final court hearing. He waited outside the courtroom. "Claire, I made a mistake. I was stupid. I got caught up." "You didn't just cheat on me," I said. "You tried to erase me, financially, emotionally, publicly. I lost everything." "Number you gave it away." He nodded slowly. "Is there any chance?" "No." He didn't speak again. We met one last time, at the final court hearing. He waited outside the courtroom. "Claire, I made a mistake. I was stupid. I got caught up." "You didn't just cheat on me," I said. "You tried to erase me, financially, emotionally, publicly. I lost everything, number you gave it away." He nodded slowly. "Is there any chance?" "No." He didn't speak again. 6 months later, Whitmore Financial had 10 clients, a waiting list, and a second associate. I moved into a new office. Glass walls, soft chairs, sunlight. Leo came to visit. We had coffee in the break room. "You know," he said, "if Dad had been honest from the start, he might have kept half." "Sometimes people are too greedy to even protect themselves," I replied. He looked around. "You're not the same person you were a year ago." "No," I said. "I'm better." And for the first time in decades, I wasn't waiting for anything. My silence had ended, and my life had begun.